Hi, I'm Pat Keegan and welcome back to the DIY Home Build channel. I just wanted to take a few minutes today in the skill building video that I'm putting together this week to talk about the different kinds of drill bits that you should know if you're a beginning carpenter or woodworker, particularly in finer woodworking. And so I wanted to take some time today just to kind of walk through 4 or 5 of the different bits that you're gonna come into contact with, and why some are better for woodworking applications while others aren't. And I guess what I'll start with is what's just the standard drill bit of what everybody kind of goes and buys when they need a bunch of drill bits, and this is just called a twist drill bit. And the difference between the things that I would rather point out to you here is it's got a tapered edge along here, and it's a slight point at the top, but it's not sharp or pointy really at all on these twist drill bits. And these, in my opinion, are just made to do, I'll call it rough carpentry. When you need a rough hole put and you're not really concerned about the exact position of the hole, or sometimes like there's a small hole and you want to widen it and make it a larger diameter hole, you'll use one of these twist drill bits to do that. It's perfectly fine. But if you've ever used these twist drill bits and you've drawn a nice X or a plus sign on a piece of wood and you want to line it up exactly in the middle of that plus sign, and you haven't taken the time to take a scratch awl or a punch or some kind and making a divot already for this to rest in, this will wander on you. So in those applications, I don't even use this type of drill bit. Again, for me, this is like rough carpentry style drill bit where I don't care about the position of where, if it wanders off or if it's a little bit away from the position it needs to be in. So keep that in mind for these regular standard twist drill bits. And obviously they come in, I could talk about all the different kinds. Some are like these new titanium ones now that they say are really good, and they're good. There's all different kinds of these, but the fundamental in part of the bit is basically just this twisting action that you get to drill a regular hole. So we'll set that apart, and the next one I want to talk about is going to help you kind of increase your accuracy. And I have a very good set of these, and I'll also mention, by the way, that sometimes you want multiple sets of bits because you don't want to use your good bits for something that a lesser bit, if you will do just fine. And I'll talk about that in a second. This is called a brad point bit. And you can very clearly see that unlike the twist drill bit, these are angled upwards. The flutes of the bit end in an upward angle. And that's so that the points here touch the outside of the hole that you're actually drilling. And they're going to basically make a nice, basically what this is for is to score the outer rim or outer edge of the hole at its diameter. So these are really nice if you're going through plywood, for example. There's less tear out in the plywood around the edge of the hole because these edges of the flutes score the material almost. It's almost like taking a knife and running around it with a knife first and then using a drill. And then the most important feature really of this thing is the fact that this point here sticks up higher than the surrounding flutes, and this is for your accuracy point. So if you didn't take a scratch awl or a punch and punch a hole into in the center of your mark to start a divot for a pilot hole, the brad point bit takes care of that for you. Once it's chucked in the drill, like so, I can just take it and kind of lean it to the side so that I can see the drill point, and I can set it exactly on where I need to drill, on whatever the intersection of my plus sign or my multiplication sign, so that I can drill through that, and it's not going to wander away. So you should always have, if you can afford them, of course, they're not that expensive. Actually, the price of brad point bits has come down, and there's a bunch of different manufacturers of them. So you're going to see me use the brad point bit in another video that I'm going to post on making a shelf pin drilling guide. So the brad point bits are excellent for increasing accuracy and not having the drill bit wander away from the point that you need to drill it. Another bit I'll talk about that you'll see, and you can definitely see that the fluting is very different. So this is the standard twist bit. This is called an augering bit. And you can see that the flutes are very much different than these. And really what this is designed for is just to get through the lumber as quick as possible, and you're going to get a lot of tear out from the back. when you do this. Which, by the way, I should mention, whenever you're drilling all the way through a fine piece of work, and the side might be exposed, you always want to put some kind of a scrap piece of wood underneath it and clamp it to it, so that the bit just keeps going right through the good wood that you want to see into the scrap wood, and that also prevents tear out. This auger bit is just designed to rapidly get through, make a very rapid hole. It has a large point at the top just for accuracy, but I see these used a lot, like if you're going to make holes in the studs to run electrical wires through or plumbing lines through or whatever have you. They're not interested, plumbers and electricians aren't interested in the accuracy of where exactly that hole is. As long as it's somewhere close to the middle of the stud, it's fine. So they're going to use an augering bit because, man, they can just get an angle drill and push through the stud as quickly as possible. That's what the augering bit, in my opinion, is used for best. Then I'm going to talk about the Forstner bit. Now, these are important bits that as a fine woodworker you should have, I think. They're very important for drilling flat-bottomed holes. That's the principle of the Forstner bit. Now, I've seen people go ahead and chuck a Forstner bit into a drill press and they drill all the way through the wood. I wouldn't do that because it does, every time you use a drill bit, it's going to get a little duller. And, you know, I pay a decent buck for some good drill bits, and if I'm going to use the Forstner bit, I'm going to make sure it's for a flat-bottomed hole and not to go all the way through the piece of wood. And I would rather use one of these other bits here to go all the way through. The Forstner bit is designed to do flat-bottom holes so that you can recess things into the wood without it coming through the other side. Two very examples that I can think of that I've used recently is using a Forstner bit to drill a flat-bottomed hole about, you know, 1/4 of an inch or less into the lumber to epoxy a magnet in, and then you can put a magnet in your doors, for example, so that when they close, they'll stay put. You can put a little piece of metal behind. They sell these little special magnet metal things that you can put. But, you know, so that's one application. Another very important application is to this, for example, is a concealed hinge drilling jig, and it comes with a bit like this. And the reason it's in this plastic housing with a spring is here, maybe you can see it a little bit better here, is just because they fit over these cups that are, or these flanges rather, that are used to position the holes for your concealed hinges. And obviously you wouldn't drill a hole all the way through your door just to put your hinges in, but this just drills a nice flat-bottomed hole. And you can see on this is basically just another version of a Forstner bit. And you can see that the point is, again, sticking out from the other serrations around the circumference of the hole that you're going to drill, and that's, again, to align with accuracy. Forstner bits probably are built with the fact in mind that you're going to need some accuracy along with it. So again, I wouldn't use these things because, you know, they're good bits and they're probably a little bit more pricey for the good ones. I wouldn't use these to just do general drilling or drilling holes all the way through. I would fall back on a less expensive spade bit or an auger bit or something like that with a scrap block mounted behind it so I don't tear out all the wood from the back. So in any case, that is pretty much what I had to say about these 4 or 5 bits here. Obviously there's tons of different kinds of bits. They make bits that go in hammer drills to drill concrete. You definitely want to use a concrete drilling bit rather than any kind of bit I've shown you here. There's special bits for that. And there's probably a dozen easily more different types of bits that I'm not going to talk about. I just wanted to get you familiarized with some of the 4 or 5 basic bits that you'll be using in woodworking and how to improve your accuracy in doing so. So I hope you've learned something from this video, and again, I appreciate you watching, and I love to see the comments at the bottom and the questions. I try to take the time to answer them all. So again, I appreciate it, and thanks for watching.